Chris Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 presented by Stakes. We preview every game involving SEC teams for this football season. That includes this one where New Mexico comes to LSU. That game is going to kick off at 7:30 Eastern, over under at 47. LSU a 29-point favorite. You can see that at the SEC Network Plus or ESPN Plus if you prefer. Blake, LSU comes off a big win over Mississippi State at home, and New Mexico has had a 2-1 start, although the only team that's really played of significance was Boise, and it got beat pretty handily in that one. Not the most exciting game on the slate this week.
No, and you got a New Mexico team that, as you'll talk about, they're not exactly throwing the ball a lot. So this will be something that I think a lot of the stuff will be determined on the ground in this one. But yeah, I think for LSU, look, they got a huge win against Mississippi State, and and we always have said this. Everybody knows in all of our previews, it's that sandwich game in between two big SEC games, and where they go to Auburn next week. Is that right? So I think that's always the possibility. You look at these kind of games, but I think there was a lot to be impressed with LSU coming out of that Mississippi State game. The defense makes some plays, offense makes some plays. They've in really just a couple of short weeks, right? It feels like they've come a long way since week one, and I think now you kind of look at the setup for this game in particular. Night game, Baton Rouge, just feels like a pretty nice setup here for LSU to cruise to another victory ahead of another big SEC game.
LSU found balance last week. They threw for 206, ran for 210. It's not the greatest offense we've seen. We still don't know what Keyshawn Boutt's role is in this offense, but LSU's got some talent. Jaden Daniels has run the ball really well. Getting a little more depth back at running back with John Emery Jr. coming back. Again, it's not an offensive powerhouse. New Mexico, though, has forced some turnovers, kind of lived off those last week in the win over UTEP. That might be something to watch if LSU is not sharp. The defense has been pretty good so far for New Mexico. Now, again, take this into context. Don't know what it means. Shut out Maine, gave up 10 to UTEP, and had several interceptions. I think they've got 6 interceptions so far, and then gave up 31 to Boise in a game that, frankly, probably wasn't helped by the fact that they didn't move the ball at all. They had 98 yards of total offense. So defense has been good for New Mexico so far, but it's not seen anything quite like LSU either.
Well, I was going to say, keep in mind with New Mexico's turnover total here that UTEP had 7 turnovers last week. So it's rare you see that in a college football game for a team to have 7 turnovers in a single game. So, that's obviously a big part of that number for New Mexico. And again, I think we were looking at the composite rankings that you do, kind of compiling all these different, models and everything to kind of give us one ranking. And I think UTEP was what, Chris? They were way down there,
Bottom 12.
114. So that was as of last week. So it's not exactly doing that against a team like LSU, and I think that's obviously going to be the big difference here. When you look at this, again, I think you kind of look at the LSU offense, and we're starting to see that progression, I think, and kind of what Jaden Daniels can do now. Someone's going to be able to, beat you in a couple of different ways, and I think he's just, with more experience, he's just going to keep getting better and better here in this particular LSU offense. Obviously, is a player that has played and has experience at the college level. Coming over to LSU, but I think now in this particular offense, he's a couple games in, 3 games in now. So you're getting a lot more familiarity there. And I think you could see that, especially, kind of looking at last week and some of the things they were able to do. So yeah, I think this is, obviously a nice setup here, I think, for LSU's offense to be able to do some things against this New Mexico defense. Again, even if it is one that's forced a lot of turnovers thus far.
Before we talk about when New Mexico's got the ball against LSU, a quick word from our sponsor, Stakes. That's Stakes. A lot of games coming up in the SEC this week. To add some excitement to those, we are going to create polls that you can weigh your predictions on in every game. We want to hear from you guys if you agree or disagree with our picks, which we will probably enter on the app today. Go to playwithstakes.com/14. Sign up with Stakes. Place your prediction on our question. If you use the invite code Southeastern14 when you sign up, you'll get a double welcome bonus. Totally free, a lot of fun. Come beat our brains in and smack talk to us later. You'll like the app. Trust us on that one. Okay, New Mexico's offense, Blake, one of the worst in the country. Denny Gonzalez wants to run something like a Coastal Carolina style attack from what I read. They do not have the horses yet. They had 98 yards of total offense against Boise, ran for less than a yard a carry in that one. Did run the ball a little bit against Maine and UTEP, but just over 4 yards a carry. LSU's got athletes on the defensive line. They'll stuff that. So the thing to me here is New Mexico may be on shutout alert in this one.
Yeah, I mean, what are they passing yardage this season was like 379, something like that. I think is their total passing yardage to this point. But again, knowing that they're going to run the ball, when you look at just how this game plays out, that is one where can you do against LSU what you've been able to do against other teams? And I think that's going to be the issue here in terms of where things stand on that. So, yeah, I mean, you talked about shutout alert. I think that's why, honestly, this over under so low because I think you're just not expecting New Mexico to put up much of a point. You're just not expecting to put up a lot of points. That's what it comes down to, and there's no need to complicate it. And I think again, it just comes down to how New Mexico wants to run their offense versus trying to do that against an LSU defense that is going to, as we talked about, just kind of up front, what LSU is able to do on the defensive side, and I just think that's going to put a lot of pressure on this New Mexico offense. And again, if they do have to pass the ball quite a bit, I just don't think they're there yet. So.
Yeah, correct myself on this. Actually, New Mexico had 123 yards of offense against Boise State. And New Mexico's been pretty good on the defensive side. Again, hasn't played much of anybody other than Boise. They're allowing, 120 something yards in first game, about 320 to Boise, and then last week to UTEP. Not only the turnovers, but they allowed 244 yards, I think, of offense. So, again, not going to play an offense or hasn't played an offense as good as New Mexico's. Implied final on this one, if you take the over-under and the point spread, it's 38-9 LSU. I feel like LSU holds New Mexico to less than 9, although, you can always see a fluke touchdown. New Mexico does get some picks, things like that. I don't know. This
You're trying
I
here,
mean,
but I'm
it's
not like
I
I
am.
just
We try to make these
yeah.
interesting. 29, I feel like LSU is going to cover that. The 47 to me probably depends on whether New Mexico State can score at all.
I think I'd probably go LSU to cover, and I would take the under. I think it's going to be like you said. I think it's going to be a challenge for New Mexico to score in this game. By the way, they rank 108 with a bunch of other teams in terms of first downs this season. Just as you
I'm
said,
surprised it's that
offensively,
high.
honestly, I was looking lower because I thought it would be lower than that, but it wasn't. But they're yeah, but I mean, again, that's still not where you want to be offensively, and I think carrying that into this game, knowing that I think you're going to have to pass the ball a bit, even if you don't want to in a game like this. I just think that LSU will probably be able to slow down, the rushing attack, and I just feel like it's a nice setup as always. The only thing, is it sluggish just looking ahead, coming off an SEC win? I just don't think so with LSU for some reason. I just don't get that sense. I think they'll come out
Yeah.
and I mean, we saw it against Southern, right? Like we, kind of wondered with that after the Florida State loss, do you bounce back? I think LSU takes care of business here, so I'll actually take them. Not 100% confidence on this one. I think they cover the spread. I think the over
Yeah.
under is a bit more of a, not really sure on that one.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, most games are more interesting. This one, we will preview them all this year at our channel. Best way to do that is hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.